Hello and welcome to Zarnock Gaming. My name is Trenton VX or Trenton Von Zarnock, and today we're going to be taking a character look at the new upcoming Trial of Faith hero Roswitha the Canoness. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to compare Roswitha to a couple of other damage dealing units, both another Imperial as well as a Chaos. And I chose to take a look at max rare stats since I think that's pretty obtainable right now. Silver 1 is within the realm of possibility, as Silver 2 is the current max for upgrade, and level 26 doesn't seem unreasonable to get to. So looking at Roswitha here, she's got about 1,000 health, and she has some low piercing attacks, 2 hits at range, 3 hits in melee, and 363 damage. So I decided to compare it to some of our favorite damage dealing heroes. We have 6 hits from Volk at 108. Now, one of the things that's important to remember when you're talking about a damage dealing character is that more hits isn't always good. It feels that way in campaign, right? Because we're fighting a lot of scarabs, or we're fighting swarms in Onslaught, or we're trying to take out both sides of a 2-man laser cannon in the Fall Acadia. But every hit needs to go through armor a full time. So if a unit that you're attacking has 89 armor and half of this is guaranteed to pierce, but the other half is going to be completely knocked by armor each hit. So it's not going to just be blocked by 89 armor one time out of the 648 damage. It's going to be blocked 6 times at 108 damage each time. So that said, Volk is still, as we know, a very powerful character, and this is what he looks like at max rare, in case anybody was wondering. He's got about 785 health. And then we look at less hit, higher damage hero like Thaddeus Noble, Master Bang Bang, one of my favorites. And he's looking at 459 damage and 3 hits with a 15% pierce ratio at blast damage. And he's got about 642 health. Of course, it makes more sense for these units whose primary attack is intended to be ranged to have a little bit less health and a little bit more damage, right? It's almost not a fair comparison to then take a look at the fact that Roswitha has 1,028 health, meaning she is very tanky in comparison. And while she has a little bit less damage than Thaddeus, let's take a look at some of her abilities and see what that might mean. So we're looking at her Brazier Holy Fire. She's going to knock somebody out with a torch and doing about 1,000 flame damage, and looking at 2,000 against demons and debuffing demons within 2 hexes. It's not my favorite active ability. However, her passive for increased damage to Psyker actually more useful than I first thought when taking a look at. So right up front, she looks like a very niche hero who we're going to be using to counteract Archimedos. Maybe using against demons in the Fall Acadia Mirror campaign. But then you start to take a look around the game for Psychers, and you realize that every guild raid boss is a Psyker. That means she's getting not an extra 405 damage each attack, but an extra 405 damage to each hit of her attacks. So with her 3-hit melee attack, that's an extra 1,200 damage. So let's take a look at some guild raid images and see how that pans out. We're comparing again with Volk and Thaddeus Noble here. Volk, not from high ground, because that's a fair comparison, is 354 damage estimated on what is a rare 2 ground guild raid boss. So we're looking at max rank heroes. I thought it would be good to look at a rare guild raid boss that the armor is kind of, up to par with the heroes, and see what the piercing looks like. 305, and if we bring him up to the high ground, we're looking at 534. Thaddeus, 1140, and if we bring him up to the high ground, 1710. And in case you were wondering, that's one of the reasons that Thaddeus Bang Bang is one of my favorite heroes. He doesn't even need line of sight. He can always find the high ground, and he's a great hero. But in Guild Raid, compared to Roswitha, not from high ground, 2,067 against the rare 2 Guild Raid boss. So that's a very high amount of damage. Do I think that she will replace Epic Archie or Epic Aleph Newell, Epic Yarrick in a guild raid meta? For me, no, probably not. and that makes my melee spaces really crowded. But do I think that for the free-to-play player or the lower spending player who has a well-developed team, um, that can be based around some melee, maybe some Isabella for healing, things like that. A lot of Imperials, because don't forget, Roswitha has active faith. She is a sister of battle, right? So that means that she's going to get the increased crit chance and the increased crit damage every time that your Imperials are killing someone or your Imperials are dying. And so that also gives her a lot of damage potential there. But of course, where else we have to look at is the Fall of Cadian Mirror campaign, where you are fighting primarily demons. So I took her in and used her against the Angrax boss battle, since that's the furthest content we have so far. And of course, you have to bring Cut, you have to bring Sybil, and you have to bring Thaddeus Noble for this fight. And because it's Astra Militarum, why not bring Yarrick, right? So obviously, as we look very tanky, we see some blocks coming up. So for being a melee damage dealing unit, it's nice that she actually has a block rate. You can now see that the debuffs, the down arrows, are on the demons within 2 hexes of where she targeted. And you can see they're taking increased damage on the next turn and the rest of this turn as well from her active ability. To be honest, this battle didn't really scale well for max rare. As we've seen, the first 15 levels of just about every campaign is pretty easy. Walk in the park to get to that first boss. And so not much of a struggle for Roz to do some serious damage here. So as a result, I thought, well, what else can we look at? And of course, Indomitus 75, the Anufet boss fight, is what came to mind. Now, mind you, when I made this video here, we are looking at a Tigurius, Bellator, and Certus that are not developed at all. They're like level 1, Stone rank 1. They don't have a single upgrade on them. So I'm just kind of showcasing Roswitha here. She goes up and she hits the Scarabs with 3 hits. Again, having a 3-hit hero is nice for swarm effect enemies, because you can, knock out 3 of those at once. And I'm not going to win this boss fight. At least I don't expect to, because, like I said, I brought 3-0 heroes. But we're just looking at the way she can one-shot anything on the board, and very tanky, taking a lot of damage. We got 6 summons up from Anufet. And also a little bit of a showcase for Yarrick there, who just took like 15 hits to go down at max rare as well. And then she's actually going to go and bang one-shot Anufet because of her active faith crit. So that was obviously very interesting to look at. Lost the battle, but you can see that with a developed team, she could actually be pretty useful. And then as a little bonus feature here, I thought, you know what everyone would probably like to see? They'd probably like to see a max rare level 26 summon from Yarrick. And so now we have some Cadian Guardsmen here out that we're going to just watch a level 26. Everyone's worried about how long it's going to take them to three metal this level, and even I haven't done it yet. And you can just see overkill coming up from the Cadian Guardsmen everywhere. I had taken Certus just standing in a corner, and they are just one-shotting units. I still don't like the Cadian Guardsmen AI. They move into melee and use their physical damage attack when there's no reason for them to. But there you go. And unfortunately, the rest of that cinematic there with the chat at the end is cut off. So that's a look at Roswitha. Do I think that she's the best hero we're going to see in a trial? No. Do I think that she's worth getting and that she has some niche uses and that she's going to help us 3-star the deeper levels of the Fall Acadia campaign? Absolutely. I was very excited to take a look at her, mess around with her in some of the game modes. I do think she's a fun melee bashing character, and if you're into high crits and high damage and tanky tunes, she's going to be enjoyable to mess around with. I hope you all have fun at the trial and check out some of my other videos. Please like and subscribe, and you will get the first notification of all of my quest walkthroughs or all my character previews as they come out. Happy hunting.